Hi everyone. In this video record, we are going to demonstrate how to set up the System Center Orchestrator, previously known as OPADIS. Now here I have one Windows 2008 R2 computer set up with regular Windows components, and in this demonstration I am going to install the entire System Center Orchestrator components in a single server. In practical environment, when you're going to do this on production environment, you can separate the roles, where you can have System Center Orchestrator main server on separately with the database, or you can divide the SQL server separately and the authoring tool separately, where you do the runbook designing. But in my demonstration, I'm going to put all the components in a single place. So before I go ahead and set up the orchestrator, I just carried out the SQL server setup with the default components, and I make sure .NET Framework 4.0 has been set up, and I have already went ahead and installed Microsoft Silverlight, because orchestrator console will be requiring that one for the web console part. And I have went ahead and actually download all the components of the System Center Orchestrator software. This is a release candidate which is around 64 MB. So we'll go ahead with the setup now. So you'll be greeted with the setup components. As I mentioned earlier, you can install the components separately: runbook designer, orchestrator console, and web services, which require the Silverlight and runbook server. But in my scenario, everything is going to be in single server. So we'll go ahead and click with the installation. Since this is going to be a demonstration, and I'm going to use the evaluation version without entering any key. We'll accept the license agreement, and as I mentioned earlier, including the management server, all the roles going to be installed on the single server, and each component or the service, it will be clearly defined what requires for the setup. So since I have already made the prerequisites, I will go ahead with this one. So one more cool thing about this one is you need the IIS role, and if it's missing, actually you can select the orchestrator setup to do the IIS installation with the required components. So I'll go ahead with that one. Okay, now the IIS has been set up completed. We will now proceed with the orchestrator setup, and here you can define a dedicated user account, or you can use the default admin account, but we strongly advise to create an Active user account dedicated for this particular purpose, because as you can see, it's clearly mentioned as a security best practice: do not use the domain administrator account. In my scenario, I just went ahead and created a user account for this purpose. We will check the connectivity with the particular user account and the credential. You can see it's been passed, and we can browse the SQL server and view the SQL server. Now in this scenario, I'll be actually using my local server itself. I'll be using actually the Windows authentication. You can see it's been succeeded. So in this scenario, I'll just leave it with the default setting of creating a new database, or else, like, you can, if you're using a separate SQL server, you can create an instance and give the path for that one. In my setup, I'll be having a local SQL server, and I'll be go ahead with the default name given. Here you can create a separate user group and give the particular permissions in a kind of like role-based access control, and I'll keep with the default settings in this scenario. And this is very important to remember the web services port, where you can customize it initially, or you can leave with the default ones. So I'm just going to remove them since I'm in the virtual machines. So this is the summary now. So we'll go ahead with the setup, which will take a little bit time. So once it's completed, we will come back. Okay, the setup has been completed. So we'll go ahead and close, and then we'll try to open the Orchestrator console itself. So this is the complete setup of the System Center Orchestrator. As you can see, the setup pretty good, like simple process, as long as you made the prerequisite setup initially. But still, like from my experience, I find this one is not that complicated when you compare with some of the System Center operation products. So thank you for watching, and we will get back with the rest of the videos of the System Center Orchestrator.